What's up? 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 Hello, hello, hello. Hope you're doing amazing. And welcome to another episode of Read With Me, the financial freedom series. Okay. We're talking about cash flow quadrant. Okay. We are tapping into chapter 2, part 3. Okay. There's three parts to chapter 2 because it's such an in-depth, juicy chapter. And we're about to go in on part 3, if you know what I mean. So if you haven't checked out the previous videos, if you don't even know what you're doing on this channel, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. I am Isabel, one of the founders here at Billionaire. We focus on personal and financial freedom and the ability to connect with people all over the world. Okay, we have an amazing community of like-minded individuals who are business owners, that are investors, that are S's, which are people that own their business and their jobs because they're looking to grow both personal and financially. There's so many opportunities. Okay. So like what I'm really excited and I'm so happy that you're here is the simple connection of understanding that there's so much out there. You know, it's so sad. Okay. And this is where you can put it in the comments if you want to. I believe it's so sad when someone is so fixed in their mind and they assume that they can't get out of what they currently do because they haven't had the opportunity. Okay, this is my personal opinion here. I feel like when someone can't change their mind, okay, is because they haven't had the opportunity to sit and think for themselves, think for what they truly want, think how they can make something happen. And they haven't thought of a way or haven't explored a new way of thinking to open up their creativity to create something new. You know, an example is like he mentions a dentist, you know, and he mentions that what if that dentist, you know, if you have a toothache, you call the dentist, he fixes your tooth, and you go home, you tell all your friends about your awesome dentist, and awesome. Okay. But if the dentist decides to actually take a vacation for, let's say, a month, there goes his income. You know, there goes his opportunity to make income and be financially free. Yes, he might be recognized, he might be admired, he might be, you know, I personally love my dentist, so I know exactly how this works, you know. But if, for example, my dentist had the ability to create a system so other dentists can actually do exactly what he does and then perform exactly the same procedures with the delicacy, with the accurateness, with the efficiency that he does. Okay, now we're talking about him leaving for a month. I'm still representing him as a client, as a person that is super satisfied with the service, and I'm rooting for him. And he's like in St. Bart's, sipping a cocktail, hanging out, and watching his income go up. I mean, that whole scenario right there, you know, that's what thinking is. That is where the creativity can come in. But that doesn't just happen overnight. So I'm saying that it's really sad if someone is stuck in a mindset that they can't see the other opportunities, you know, or they don't have the time to invest into their skills to get out of their current situation. So yeah, These are the type of conversations that we actually have in the Billionaire Inner Circle, in the weekly recaps that we have once a week. We go in on this. And it's so amazing to see people from all over the world, all different types of cultures. We have people from Dubai, we have people from South America, we have people in Canada, we have people in the United States. Like, it's just so amazing to see people's point of view, see people's reaction to things, and the different mindsets around it. You know, we live in an information age. The industrial age is gone. So what are you doing to make sure that you stay ahead of the curve? You know, all of that is so important. So, all right, that was that was my mini rant, okay? Because it's so necessary. It's so necessary to just be aware of the possibilities out there, okay? So cheers to you for being here and for taking the time to really get to know all the opportunities that you have within your financial freedom, okay? So Robert goes into it and he starts off this chapter 2, part 3, like this. Is my retirement account a form of investment? Well, regularly putting money into a retirement account is a form of investing. And people in the E quadrant are most encouraged to take this type of opportunity. These retirement plans are not without risk, and even when they perform, the rate of return is never going to make you financially free. Most of us want to be investors when our working years are over, but for the sake of this book, the I quadrant represents a person whose income comes from investments during their working years. In reality, most people aren't investing in a retirement account. Instead, most are saving their money in their retirement account, hoping that when they retire, they will have more money coming out than they put in. That's the difference between people who save money in their retirement accounts and people who, through investing, actively use their money to make more money as income. Are stockbrokers investors? Question mark. Many financial advisors in the investment world are, by definition, not really people who generate their income from the I quadrant. For example, most stockbrokers, real estate agents, financial advisors, bankers, and accountants are predominantly E's or S's. In other words, their income comes from their professional work, not necessarily from assets they own. I have friends who are stock traders. They buy stocks low and hope to sell high. In reality, their profession is trading, much like a person who owns a retail shop and buys items at wholesale and sells them at retail. There's still something they physically must do to generate the money, so they would fit more into the S quadrant than the I quadrant. Can all these people be investors? The answer is yes. But it is important to know the difference between someone who earns money from commissions, sells advice by the hour, or tries to buy low and sell high, compared to someone who earns money from just spotting in or creating good investments. There is one way to find out how good your advisor is. Ask them what percentage of their income comes from commissions or fees versus the percentage that comes from passive income from their investments or other businesses that they own. Ooh, that is literally going to be one of my questions, just FYI. Very, very transparent here. We're in the process of hiring a new accountant. So get ready, whoever that will be, because I'm going to ask you this, okay? I have several CPA friends who tell me, without violating client confidentiality, that my professional investment advisor has little in the way of income from investments. So in other words, they don't practice what they preach. Advantages of income from the I quadrant. So the primary distinction of people who earn their money from the I quadrant is that they focus on having their money make money. If they're good at it, they can have the money work for them and for their family for hundreds of years. Besides the obvious advantage of knowing how to make money with money and not having to get up and go to work, there are also many tax advantages that aren't available to people who have to work for their money. Many of the reasons the rich get richer is because they can make millions and pay legally little or no tax on that money. That's because they make money in the asset column, not in the income column. They make money as investors, not workers. Yo. That right here. That is the battle cry right here. Moreover, people who work for money are often taxed at higher rates than investors, and their taxes are withheld from their wages. They never see that portion of their income. Why aren't more people investors? The I quadrant is a quadrant for working less, earning more, and paying less in tax. So why aren't more people investors? The reason is that the same reason many people don't start their own business. It can actually be summed up in a couple of words, okay? In a way, it's actually risk, okay? That is the number one word that sums up whether someone can be an investor in the I quadrant or cannot be an investor in the I quadrant. Many people don't like the idea of handing over their hard-earned money and possibly not even having it come back. Many people are so afraid of losing that they choose not to invest, no matter how much money they could make in return. A Hollywood celebrity once told me, "It's not return on investment that I worry about. It's the return of the investment." The fear of losing money seems to divide investors into four broad categories. People who are risk takers or risk averse and do nothing but play it safe, keeping their money in the bank. That's the first person. Two, people who turn the job of investing over to someone else, such as a financial advisor or a mutual fund manager. And then there's number three, gamblers. And then there's four, investors. The difference between a gambler and an investor is simple. For a gambler, investing is a game of chance. For an investor, investing is a game of skill. And for the people who turn their money over to someone else to invest, investing is often a game they don't want to learn. The important thing for these individuals is to choose a financial advisor carefully. Later in this book, I'll go into the 5 levels of investors, which should shed some light on the subject right here. This is really, really important. The difference between a gambler and an investor, okay, is investing is a game of chance versus the investor, they're not in it to play around. They're in it to make an investment, okay? No risk. Their risk can be managed. That's what it is. Okay, then he goes into risk can be virtually eliminated, okay? The good news about investing is that risk can be greatly minimized or even eliminated, and you can still receive high yields on your money if you know the game. A true investor wants to recoup his or her money quickly. People who have a retirement account have to wait years to find out if they'll ever get their money back. This is the most extreme difference between a professional investor and someone who sets money aside for retirement. It's the fear of losing money that causes most people to seek security. Yet the I quadrant is not as treacherous as many people think. The I quadrant is like any other quadrant. It has its own skills and mindset. The skills to be successful in the I quadrant can be learned if you're willing to take the time to learn. A new age begins. Okay. In 1989, the Berlin Wall was torn down. as was communism. This, in my opinion, signaled the end of the industrial age and the start of the information age. Good. The difference between the industrial age pension plans and the information age pension plans. The voyage of Columbus in 1492 roughly coincides with the start of the industrial age. The fall of Berlin Wall in 1984 is the event that marked the end of that age. For some reason, it seems that every 500 years in modern history, great cataclysmic changes occur. We're in one such period right now. That change has already threatened the financial security of hundreds of millions of people, most of whom are not yet aware that the financial impact that change, and many of whom can't afford it. That change is found in the difference between the industrial age pension plan and an information age pension plan. When I was a boy, my rich dad encouraged me to take risks with my money and learn to invest it. He'd always say, if you want to get rich, you need to learn how to take risks, learn to be an investor. At home, I told my educated dad about my rich dad's suggestion that we learn how to invest and manage risk. My educated dad replied, I don't need to learn how to invest. I have a government pension plan, a pension from the teachers union, and a guaranteed social security benefits. Why take risk with my money? My educated dad believed in industrial age pension plans, such as government employee pensions and social security. That's his poor dad, by the way, y'all. He was happy when I signed up for the U.S. Marine Corps. Instead of being worried that I might lose my life in Vietnam, he simply said, stay in for 20 years and you'll get a pension and medical benefits for life. Although still in use, such pension plans are becoming obsolete. The idea of a company being financially responsible for your retirement and the government picking up the balance of your retirement needs through pension schemes is an old, outdated idea. Indeed, I agree with that 100%. Put it in the chat if you believe this is wrong, okay? Put it in the chat. That's huge controversy right there for a lot of the older generation, the baby boomers versus, Gen Y, Z, X, Y, whatever. It brings up a lot of questions, right? Or a great discussion. We shall see. People need to become investors, okay? As we move from defined benefit pension plans, or what I call industrial age retirement plans, to defined contribution pension plans, or the information pension plans. Defined contribution plans is what he calls the information age pension plans. The result is that you, as an individual, must now be financially responsible for yourself. Amazingly, few people have noticed the changes and understand its ramifications. Industrial age pension plans. In the industrial age, as a defined benefit pension plan meant that the company guaranteed you, the worker, a defined amount of money, usually paid monthly, for as long as you lived. People felt secure because these type of plans assured a steady income. The information age pension plans have changed at all. In 1974, the rules changed with the passage of the Employee Retirement Income Security. Suddenly, companies were no longer guaranteeing financial security at the end of your working days. Instead, employers began offering defined contribution retirement plans. Defined contribution means that you only get back what you and the company have contributed while you were working. So in other words, your pension is defined solely by what has been contributed. If you and your company put no money in it, then you get no money out. The good news is that the information age, life expectancy has increased. The bad news is that you might outlive your pension. So if you have one, you might just live, let's say you live until you're 85 or 90. typically these pensions last till you're like 65 if you start working for a company when you're in your 20s or something like that. Risky pension plans, he goes into it. What many people don't understand is that whatever you and your employer put into the plan is no longer guaranteed to exist when you decide to pull it out. That is because plans like the 401k and the superannuation are subject to market forces. In other words, one day you could have $1 million in the account, but if there were a stock market crash, which every market occasionally has, your $1 million could now be cut in half or even wiped out. With defined contribution plans, the guarantee of lifelong income has vanished. People today who retire at the age of 65 and begin to live on their defined contribution plans could run out of money, let's say at the age of 75. Then what do? Dust off the resume, start to look for a new job, apply on Indeed? And what about the government's defined benefit pension plan? Well, in the United States, Social Security is expected to be bankrupt by the year of 2037, with Medicare bankrupt by 2017. Even today, Social Security doesn't provide in any way any type of income. What will happen when 77 million baby boomers begin to want their money, and they want it now, but now it's no longer there? In 1998, President Clinton's popular cry of "Save Social Security" was well received. Yet, as a Democratic Senator Ernest Holdings pointed out, obviously, the first way to save Social Security is to stop looting it. For decades, the federal government has been responsible for borrowing the retirement money for expenditures, a government-sanctioned Ponzi scheme. Many politicians seem to think that the Social Security is income that can be spent rather than an asset that should be held in trust. That's sad. That's sad for many, many reasons, you know? Too many people counting on the government. I write my books and create products such as the educational cash flow board game because of the industrial age is history. And we must prepare for the opportunities in the information age. My concern as a private citizen is that for my generation forward, we aren't properly prepared to handle the differences between the industrial age and the information age. A case in point is how we prepare financially for our retirement years. The idea of go to school and get a safe, secure job was a good one for people born before 1930. Today, everyone needs to go to school to prepare for a job or a career, but we also need to know how to invest, and investing is not a subject taught in school. One of the problems created by the industrial age is that too many people are dependent upon the government to solve their individual problems. Today, we're facing even bigger problems because we must delegate our personal financial responsibility to the government. It's estimated that by the year 2020, there will be 275 million Americans, with 100 million of them expecting some kind of form of government support. This will include federal employees, military retirees, postal workers, teachers, and other government employees and retirees expecting Social Security and Medicare payments. They're contractually correct in expecting government support because in one way or another, most have been investing into that promise throughout their working lives. Unfortunately, there were too many promises made for too many years. Now the bill is coming due. I don't think those financial promises can be kept. If our government begins to raise taxes even higher to pay for those promises, those will escape to countries that have lower taxes. In the information age, the term offshore won't necessarily mean another country as a tax haven. Offshore could mean cyberspace. Literally, that is what's happening now. Good job, Robert. A great change is at hand. I recall President John F. Kennedy warning, a great change is at hand. Well, that change is here. Investing without being investors. The change from defined benefit to defined contribution pension plans is forcing millions of people throughout the world to become investors with little investor education. Many people who have spent their lives avoiding financial risk are now being forced to take them. Most will find out when it comes time to retire whether they were wise investors or careless gamblers. Today, the stock market is fueled by many things, one of which non-investors trying to become investors. Their financial path looks like this. They try to go from the E quadrant to the I quadrant. A large majority of these people, the E's and the S's, are people who by nature are security oriented. That's why they seek secure jobs or start small businesses they can control. Because of the defined contribution retirement plans, they are all migrating today to the I quadrant, where they hope they'll find security when their working years are over. Unfortunately, the I quadrant is not known for its security. The I quadrant is the quadrant of risk. Because so many people on the left side of the cash flow quadrant come looking for security, the stock market responds in kind. That's why you often hear the following words. 1, diversification. People who seek security use the word diversification a lot. Why? Well, because the strategy of diversification is an investment strategy for not losing. That's in quotation marks. It's not an investment strategy for winning. Successful or rich investors don't diversify. They focus their efforts. Warren Buffett, possibly the world's greatest investor, says this about diversification. The strategy we've adopted precludes our following standard diversification dogma. Many pundits would therefore say the strategy must be riskier than that employed by more conventional investors. We disagree. We believe that a policy of portfolio concentration may well decrease risk if it raises, as it should, both the intensity with which an investor thinks about a business and the comfort level he must feel with its economic characteristics before buying into it. In other words, Warren Buffett is saying that portfolio concentration and focusing on a few investments rather than diversifying is a better strategy. In his mind, concentration rather than diversification requires you to become a smarter and more intense in your thoughts and actions. His article goes on to say that the average investor avoids volatility because they think volatility is risky. Warren Buffett says instead, in fact, the true investor welcomes volatility. Wow. That's awesome. When Kim and I were escaping from financial struggle to financial freedom, we didn't diversify. We concentrated our investments. Number 2, blue chip stocks. Security-minded investors usually buy blue chip companies. Why? Because in their mind they're safer. While the company might be safer, the stock market is not. These stocks won't protect your money in a market free fall. And then 3, mutual funds. People who know little about investing feel more secure turning their money over to a fund manager who they hope will do a better job than they can. This is a smart strategy for people who have no intention of becoming professional investors. But the problem is that as smart as this strategy is, it doesn't mean that mutual funds are less risky. Today, the market is filled with millions of people who by nature are security-minded. But due to the changing economy, they are being forced to cross from left side of the cash flow quadrant into the right side, where their brand of security doesn't really exist, which causes a lot of concern. The great economic upheavals are coming. The stage is set for the great economic upheaval. Such upheavals have always marked the end of an old era and the birth of a new one. At the end of every era, there are people who have moved forward and there are people who cling to ideas of the past. I'm afraid that the people who still believe their financial security is the responsibility of a big company or a big government will be disappointed in the upcoming years. Those ideas of those are the ideas of the industrial age and not the information age. No one has a crystal ball. I subscribe to many investment news services, and each one says different. Some say that the near future is bright. Some say that the market crash and the major depressions are right around the corner. To remain objective, I listen to both sides because both have points worth listening to. I do not play fortune teller trying to predict the future. Instead, I work at staying educated in both the B and the I quadrants and being prepared for whatever happens. A person who is prepared will prosper no matter which direction the economy goes. Indeed. If history is any indicator, a person who lives to the age of 75 should anticipate going through the one depression and two major recessions during his or her lifetime. My parents went through their depression, but the baby boomers have not yet. Today, we all need to be concerned with more than just job security. I think we must also focus on our long-term financial security and not leave that responsibility to a company or the government. The times officially changed when companies said that they were no longer responsible for your retirement years. Once they switched to the defined contribution retirement plan, the message was that you were now responsible for investing in your own retirement. Today, we all need to become wiser investors, always aware of the ups and downs of the financial markets. I recommend learning to be an investor rather than giving your money to someone else to invest it for you. If you simply turn your money over to a mutual fund or an advisor, you may have to wait until you're 65 to find out if that person did a good job. If they did a lousy job, you may have to work for the rest of your life. Millions of people will have to do just that because it will be too late for them to invest, to learn about investing. Then he goes into learn to manage risk. It is possible to invest for high returns with low risk. All you have to do is learn how it's done. It's not hard. It is not hard. In fact, it's much like learning how to ride a bike. In the early stages, you may fall down, but after a while, the falling stops and investing becomes second nature, just as riding a bicycle is for most of us. The problem with the left side of the cash flow quadrant is that most people go there to avoid financial risk. Instead of avoiding risk, I recommend learning how to manage financial risk. So take a risk. People who take risks change the world. Few people ever get rich without taking risk. Too many people have come to depend on the government to eliminate the risk of life. The beginning of the information age should have ushered in an era of smaller government because big government is frankly too expensive to maintain. But rather than becoming savvy, educated investors, millions of people around the world have bought into the archaic idea of entitlements and pensions for life. This simply isn't feasible. The information age means we all need to become more self-sufficient, grow up, and take personal responsibility for our retirement. The idea of study hard and find a safe, secure job is an idea born in the industrial age. We're not in that age anymore. The times are changing. The problem is that many people's ideas have not changed. They still think they're entitled to something. Many still think that the I quadrant is not their responsibility. They continue to think that the government, big business, a labor union, their mutual funds, or their family will take care of them when their working days are over. For their sake, I hope they're right. These individuals have no need to read further. Rich Dad's Cash Flow Quadrant was written to help individuals who want to make the move from the left side to the right side, but don't know where to start. Anyone who wants to make the move with the right skills and the right determination will win. If you've already found your financial freedom, I say congratulations. Please tell others about your path and guide them if they want to be guided. Teach them, but let them find their own path, for there are many paths to financial freedom. Regardless of what you decide, please remember this: financial freedom might be free, but it doesn't come cheap. Freedom has a price, and to me, it's worth that price. The big secret is it takes neither money to be financially free nor a good formal education. It also doesn't have to be risky. Instead, freedom's price is measured in dreams, desire, and the ability to overcome disappointments that occur along the way. So are you willing to pay that price? One of my fathers paid that price, the other didn't, but he paid a different kind of price, the B quadrant course. Are you a true business owner? You are, if you can answer yes to the following question. Dun, dun, dun. This is a question. Can you leave your business for a year or more and return to find it more profitable and running better than when you left it? Ooh, dang. Now that's a question to ask yourself, okay? Can you leave your business for a year or more and return to find it more profitable and running better than when you left it? I'm telling you, if you can say yes, I want to talk to you, okay? If you said no, then I encourage you to join the Billionaire Inner Circle, because that is exactly what we're looking to achieve here, okay? Like, that is one of the reasons why we did this amazing group and why we built this amazing community, because we're in the game to be financially free, okay? We're not in the game to keep on working and so hard for something and like not see the growth, like we're not the type of people to do hard work. We're all in on doing the hard work, obviously, every single day, okay? But the hard work is different for everyone. As Robert mentioned, like, we don't live in the industrial age anymore. Like, there's so much opportunity right now. There's more billionaires right now than ever before. The new billionaire is actually the old millionaire, sorry. The new billionaire is the new millionaire. The old millionaire is actually the new billionaire. So taking into account all these different things, I mean, information is at the edge of your fingertips. Is you that has to be aware of the opportunity that is out there. And it's through these types of conversations that you're able to see what is available to you and how you can really maximize it. So I encourage you, I applaud you for being here. That is the first step. The first step is to actually say, you know what? It's time. No one else can take care of me. I am responsible for my actions, and I need to find new ways of taking responsibility for the way that I want to live. So if you're in that position, if you're in that position in life right now, I encourage you to check out the Billionaire Inner Circle. We are creating some amazing projects in there. And most importantly, you are invited. You are formally invited to join. We welcome you. And most importantly, you have a gift that many people want to experience. You have the gift of life. So it's your responsibility to find that, what is your path? What is it that you're looking to accomplish here? What do you want? There's so many questions here, right? So I encourage you to just dig deeper within yourself and ask yourself these questions, because if you don't ask yourself these questions, the time that it actually takes to just ask these questions to yourself is probably the most important times that you have within yourself to change yourself for your future self. Okay. So give yourself the gift of asking these questions and the gift of evolving with today's time, with the information age, and get yourself around good information, valuable information, and information that will get you closer in the I quadrant and get you out of the E quadrant or even the S quadrant. Get into the B and the I quadrant. That's what we're all about. Billionaire Red Inner Circle. Check it out. If you absolutely loved what Robert had to say in chapter 2, part 1, 2, and 3, make sure to hit the like, the subscribe, and share it with all your friends and family, because it's time, y'all. It's time to dominate. It's time to take over, and it's time to make a change. And it all starts with you. Okay. Have a beautiful rest of your day. God bless, and see you soon. Ciao.